Well, good evening. um, I'm going to try to talk about a number of things tonight. I'm on the way home from work, so I can't really pay attention to the, chats. Whoops. And what's your problem, man? You really have trouble seeing that much, huh? You must be loaded. I think that was somebody that was drunk pulling in. There was plenty of space and he was acting like, he couldn't see. Of course, there's lots of things happening on the road. That's where I am right now in Dallas, north of Dallas, near Lewisburg, I think it's called. So, tape 447, one of the things it talks about, Doe talks about, not it, Doe talks about, is that he, at the time he's talking about this in 1989, if I remember correctly, it was before they went public. We went public for the second time. I gotta make sure I get my directions right here. And so Doe hadn't even by this point, well, maybe he had read an 88 update by now. Let me see. Let me go up here to the big top of this and see if I can. Yeah, this was on December 89. So that was after Albuquerque or maybe back to Dallas, maybe. I don't remember exactly. But Doe was feeling that he had only talked to helpers about this and he wasn't going to talk about it to the class, which has to do with whatever you want to call those that created this planet and the life forms on it. And if we need scientists and inventors and things to create things, then you can be certain that the Earth that provides all those opportunities was created by beings that are far, 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 far more experienced in duality, even though there are aspects of those that are certainly entwined in our realities. Then one can recognize that it's possible that this is a school. If it's a school, what's the basis? What kind of a school is it? Peel out the fast to change lanes and stuff, things are going to go flying. I think a spoon fell down and a fork and stuff like that. 35 east south. Okay, I'm finally on track. About to get on 35E. So what I'm getting to is what they are. They're laboratories also, but they're workstations. Is because even labs has this mystique about it, right? And not always a positive. Okay, I'm getting off at the first exit. There's a whole bunch of police cars blocking off the whole highway so that everybody has to take the service road. I saw this when I was taking a customer up this way. They got a big section of the freeway totally blocked off, stopping by anybody from going through there. There's a whole bunch of construction vehicles too. Of course, that's normal, right? So the next level's regulating. I'm just referring to them as the next level. And that's documented from 1975. I mean, you know, of course, I could be challenged on that. Having them as an acronym, kind of, or, you know, a definition with just two words, that's what's unique about it. And it stands for the evolutionary level above human. This must be the most convoluted directions that now I'm going on the President George Bush's Turnpike. Don't tell me this is going to be a toll road. I hope not. They're calling it a turnpike. What's the definition of turnpike? Anyway, so the next level is cultivating humans, vehicles, for souls to be planted in that can grow to become members of the next level. And they want it to be free will. It's necessary that it be free will. Anyway, I shouldn't be, lingering on the. I want to get to the meat of what I'm talking about. from tape 447. And that is that Doe felt like there was something to do, a next step. And he didn't know what it was. And he began to wonder that his perception wasn't in the right place yet, so that he couldn't receive it because he wouldn't have the courage. He doesn't have the courage to do it if it's something that he thinks of as a terrible experience, like going public again was, considering what the media made of him from 1975. There's nothing fun about doing a task that Doe chose to do, and whether somebody believes it or not, it doesn't matter. When one can look at what happened, with an open mind, I have to say, you have to have an open mind to actually let this information come into your mind. But you have more than that, because we all have challenges, I believe, big ones, all the time. And the next level gives us breaks also, to where we can reflect on things that happened. See, everybody's being cared about. That's why people say that God loves all the creatures in the creation. It's not just humans, because it's like, the best example is the way a parent is with a child, a pet owner is to a pet, the way other creatures, a pet or a horse or an animal that's didn't make. I thought, well, maybe by an earthquake, right? They can stimulate an earthquake, maybe, and that may be the way they can do it, because they're using their mind to I don't know what degree of creation is more conscious than other degrees of creation, like if certain ones don't know why a star explodes, know more about it, or if not about that star that exploded, another star that exploded, they might know more about, and actually learn about how and why that's done, observe and get closer and closer to a star. Well, I guess a bigger star or more stars making collisions and having these thermonuclear reactions that send matter of all kinds in different directions. Yeah, who knows, right? But the point is that, which I got off the track of the original thing, but maybe that's aspects of reality with our minds. Now, how much we can manifest reality with our minds, that's another thing altogether. I mean, it really is another thing altogether. Because believing in it is certainly a step in that direction of exploration of that. To want to manifest our own reality and whatever that means, whether that's have a barbershop in Ireland, like a really close friend I had when he lived in Ireland. And I'm not making that, I'm not, trying to make that into, it's a trade, of course. It's a good trade. Sure, you can be of service and make a living. And we tend to get attached to those opportunities that have the biggest bang for their buck. In ideas and that's fine, but it's good to actually what is it that I want from that is, it's an avenue. And some avenues are given to humans, I believe, is very much in Tiando's teachings. It makes sense to me. By the system, the way it's designed. It can be stimulated by the space alien souls. It can be stimulated by what we see in the media, what we grow up with, our ancestral genetic beginnings that formulate into individuals. But it's our perception. Well, what I was going to try to get to, which I got off the track again for, was that what Doe was grappling with was that he was afraid of not living up to the next step. And I just reflected as I said that to where he received instructions and a physical appearance by two individuals and his older member's voice, put into human words. Which the next level has systems to be able to broadcast. Because they don't talk, they're not human anymore. So they don't talk like humans. their language is different. It is like a different language. Maybe that's the reason we have so many different languages. You know, one of the highest reasons. Because there's no one reason for anything. It doesn't seem like. I mean, whether of course, we attach reasons for things galore with all these alternative reasons for things. That's how much. Well, I believe that the lower force and less, it can be put on a strictly spiritual level, like a New Age worship of, you know, with songs and paraphernalia and incense and you know, the common garb, certain clothing, you know, that was like a veil down to the floor. I mean, what different communities have, why one would choose to wear that garb because of like a member of the next level wouldn't want to stand out in a society wearing different clothing. They wouldn't want to stand out because they didn't learn the language. Of course, you know, I don't think. I mean, it doesn't mean that during the process of learning the language, it won't be evident to somebody that there's a dialect or, you know, a European dialect to something. I know I'm going way off of Jericho here, but not trying to take this back into anything, but just my spaghetti brain, and I know it doesn't all make sense necessarily. Maybe some of it does have a point. But anyway, you know, it's like, I'll get back to perception, because if we can perceive something as true, and we don't fear it, because we don't fear that truth has any agenda to change us into something that we don't want to be, something that we don't want to become. The fear, I believe, is the vehicle. Let me get back to the 447 tape. Doe didn't spend much time on this, but he said a lot in that little bit of time that I'm going to try to go through more and more without getting into my little tangents. Talked about trying to be liberated from the things that hold them down. That was in reference to communism. Because even though communism and socialism in some forms can provide less opportunities because one must conform with the powers that be, the government, to not stand out as against them. So if you have certain rights to, you want to be able to do certain things, think in certain ways, then, I mean, you want to be able to, if you believe in, I know this is an extreme, but if you believe in Satan, you should be able to do what you practice in that regard, as long as you're not harming somebody else, or children, or especially, not children, of course, but not harming anybody, though, at all, physically or mentally. I mean, you can argue that just talking about that is harming somebody mentally, but not really, I don't think, except, I think people can play it out, and people that have their wits about them, will get bored with it. It just wouldn't, sometimes it's because of rebellion that people go against the grain, that what the current grain is, whatever that is. Where that could be the total grain in another country, could be Satanism, Because that's also a way that the lower forces mix everything up. So we don't know what's good and evil. Except we do, when it comes down to it. When somebody is harming somebody else, that's evil. When somebody is manipulating somebody, and they haven't accepted that manipulation because they want more of it, of what that manipulation offered them. Political positions, business opportunities, all kinds of things that people get by conforming with society. But some people, they can want those things, but they don't want to conform to society. But then there's a value, an interface, to continue to have an interface. Because let's say you're talking about the next level students in T&D's classroom that graduated. In society, hardly at all. For years and years and years, for most of them. And those that set the path to that actually did establish a strength of mind that others could tap into and get the courage to proceed. Because whenever somebody is trying to work for the next level, after they've been initially bitten by not bitten, after they've been initially took the hook that the next level provides, that doesn't really harm the fish. They can grow back that lip. I think I've heard that. I'm not saying that's a good thing, though, to throw them back, but they can recover from damages like the human body can too. So I mean, it's not like a terrible analogy that there's pain associated with becoming picked by the next level, being a vehicle that was picked by the next level to install a little chip in, where the idea of implant came from. But that the space aliens don't have. They don't have soul implants, according to Tiendo. Which makes sense to that's one of the ways that the next level. All right, I made my turn without even thinking about it. I better not get too crazy with that. So, we're actually still talking about perspectives. I mean, I'm trying to keep on coming back to it. I was even seeing some connections just now with the last thing I was talking about. I'm coming to a place to where, to be just frank, to actually get somewhere with this quicker. Want to go to the next level with our minds, go to Tiendo with our minds, and one service and not put any qualifications on it, like I did in 1994. No, like I did in 19. '98, or maybe 99, 2000, when I asked for service. I didn't ask for service with qualifications. I just said that I hoped I didn't have to leave my daughter behind. I actually asked that. Do I have to leave my daughter behind? And what I got back was, no, that won't be necessary. And that's consistent with the way they were teaching the whole time. That it's not right for humans to leave their children that they were responsible for bringing into this world, not take care of them until they could take care of themselves. And Tiendo talked about that, tape 149, I think you can hear some talk about that. That's not right for the human kingdom, to just walk away from everything. And it's got its ramifications, and it happens all the time because of breakups of parents, or the loss of a loved one, or extended families. Extended families and health issues. We all get lessons. Harder, actually. In fact, they won't get harder when we keep on, this is where the idea of surrendering comes from, which is even very Buddhist, right? So mostly always talking about Christians and Jews and Islam. And I almost got off there and I wasn't supposed to. You never know, that's why I shouldn't be in the right lane. Kathy always has me moving over to the middle lane when you got 3 lanes. When I'm in the motorhome. And it makes sense. So we're not able to get next steps from the next level relative to ourselves unless we're willing, to the degree, no, let me put it that way, to the degree in which, and okay, forget what I was saying about qualifications. I mean, not forget it, because Doe talks about it. He says that he has qualifications and that he needs to raise his perception to not fear those fear the things that were causing him to put qualifications on taking the next step. He just hadn't gotten to the place yet, but he knew that if he did express to his older member that he wanted to serve without any qualifications, trusting his older member is not going to give him something that's so hard that he doesn't have the courage to do it. And that applies to us, I believe. I'm saying us as anybody that in the next level members' minds is reaching for something more than this human kingdom seems to offer. And, people are seeking, they're searching. After that individual, Charlie Kirk, was killed, membership in churches really went up. I believe that. I believe that statistic. I'm not saying it's a negative or a positive, but it's got the potential for more of a positive if the people are open to giving themselves to the next level. And not fearing that they're not going to be able to do what they want to do. Because it's actually the opposite. The next level wants you to do what you want to do every step of the way. And as you're doing it, when things come your way or they, and you think about them and you go with them, or it helps you hone in more on what directions you want to take. when you have a mind that you want to help from the next level with any of it, any and all of it. Creators are approving of something, and you don't have to worry about it, because you're going to have your own standards that you have that getting off the track, but no, I guess I stayed on it when I said that when we get rid of the qualifications that we are putting to the above human people. No, I'm sorry, I can't pick up any hitchhikers. Rockwall. I'm in Rockwall. I just got off the 30. If Kathy happens to be here. Oh, yes. Oh, shoot. Okay. My computer just went almost flying. So the courage to take next steps. The next level gives us the courage. So let's say there's something that to me, it takes a lot of courage to, talk to people about heaven. And that's what I started to talk about a long time ago. About that when we first really get a chunk of their mind, which this is in degrees, so doesn't happen necessarily all at once, and people can have all kinds of experiences, feeling like there was a being in the room, and I don't deny those experiences can happen to people, and do happen to people. I was going to talk about some of the experiences I had, and I have many times. I'm kind of bored with talking about it. But I had experiences with, I believe, were that not normally visible to my eyes during waking hours or half asleep time periods, or had just woken up and was conscious that what I was doing and where I was and everything, and I saw this like a black sheet that was covering over that might be vibrationally, the last vehicle is so actually occupied. I believe the space alien souls a number of them wear suits to look the way they do. And those suits sometimes resemble, most of the time they probably resemble what Tien Do thought an older member looked like. Which, isn't it interesting that that image is trying to be taken over so that you can't use it unless you have permission from Mark and Sarah? Doesn't that, instead of seeing that and thinking, that's like a confirmation of how much Tien Do were on the money, on track, exactly who they said they were. When you can have people that believe in it in a spiritual way, and the thought I just had about that is that because they think that people can't accept it in a realistic way. And they're right. But they're right to some degree. Can't isn't in the dictionary of a member of the next level. And with the next level's help and the next level's trust, all things work together for good. For those that want to serve. But some are serving, they know nothing about Tien Do, but they're separating from the world in their own way. And some are actually learning other grade lessons in school, and they can learn those lessons very quickly. And they can accelerate to being greater than the ones that are the greatest in the human kingdom, whoever they are. And I don't pretend to be one of those. But which I didn't want to get to that. That being anyway glided by me, and then I don't know where it went, but the door to the basement was open, and I got chilled. My hair stood up on the back of my head. I've had other experiences, even while in the classroom, but I don't want to go through all those now. But because it's not being afraid that the service is going to be too hard and that you can't measure up to it. And that gives one the courage to proceed. And that can happen, to where somebody gets another boost. A sign of some sort, or something that happens that they feel like was a sign. And hell, who's to say where people are and how the next level can be giving people signs? I mean, there is a danger in getting so attached to receiving the signs that we think that if it's from the next level, to me, from my experience, there's a thought with it. There's a primary meaning to it. Like in the dreams that I had over years, and there were many, some of the dreams I knew that there was all kinds of things associated with it, but all I remembered was the bottom line. And then when that being actually passed by me that time, whatever it was, I was dreaming. I had a dream. I had tea in a dream. And I think it was maybe the second or third time that tea was in a dream. But in this one, it was different. They were different. Like one was that tea was in a spacecraft near where I was driving by. That was the image I had. I didn't actually see her body, the vehicle that, would be projected by the part of her mind that I tuned into to form that image in my head of the vehicle that she was in when she was in our presence, sharing mind. So you can see that might be a way of describing how an experience can become projected as a dream or stimulated in the vehicle that our vehicle thinks of as a dream. Whether they do that with this. Anyway, I can get off the track trying to be philosophical about that, all that. But so the courage. Let me describe courage the way I'm seeing it right now. Let's say you have a failure. Maybe you went out to work and you only made $70, like happened to me in Austin. And I knew that was like 35 of that was gas and oil and wear and tear on the vehicle, the car, so that it was, I was working, and you recover from it, and you still go to work the next day. There's a certain courage it takes to live life. You get a phone call from somebody and, it's like, or a thought from somebody that you're worthless or something. Or that, you're crazy or you're not worth anything. Or anything that's negative is not from the next level. That's one clear distinction. Influences won't try to make a negative out of something that the next level provides. In understanding or example or desire, hope. Not being afraid to ache for it. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have a good time here on the earth for the rest of our years. But then, it's part of the human kingdom to have difficulties, health problems, relationship problems, financial problems, family problems, esteem problems. A lot of things beat you down. You know what? Did I ever shut off my Uber app? Oh yeah, I did. So if our perception raises up, I want to put a little bit more on that, because it's not just any perception. I don't think. If we're seeking to raise our vibrations, if we're seeking to be better in some ways, change the things about us that we don't like, whether it's to where we can be too sheepish when we should have a little bit of guts, or too much guts, or too much overconfidence, or you can be overconfident of not being affected by something, in a sense. Like the way maybe I felt about people that were shooting their guns off. They're, multi-shot, bang, 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 bang. That were not firecrackers during the 4th of July in Dallas. Not 4th of July, during New Year's in Dallas. And Kathy was really affected by that. It was like death, she said. It was like hearing death. The likelihood was very big that a bullet was going to come down and hit me in the head. I know I talked about this last night or the night before as well. But perception of the reality around us, perception of the unseen world, as a quest, why not? Of course, if you're perceiving things that are harmless because they don't really have much influence, how do I know that certain spirits can't move on to some location in the spirit world where they can have more meaningfulness, some kind of development? Cells are developing. They repeat the same things over and over again, and they die. They don't have a... So, thought life forms, or discarnate life forms, I think they're the emanation of the biological existence. And the biological existence, as we know, has a frequency basis. Frequency basis, like the brain works at like 100 hertz or so. Or maybe that's just when they're talking. I think that's what it is, yeah. Or you're trying to, describe something that requires some detail. I don't know what it is exactly, but I thought 40 hertz was like resting. And I don't remember what they were. In that regard, but I guess what I'm saying is that I don't want to be afraid to perceive what the next level would have me perceive that can help me be of service to the next level. More or differently. I want to be open to that. Some demon that's trying to take us down and make us feel terrible about ourselves or other people, let it about the other person that stimulated that to happen, or that responded to your stimulating that to happen, whoever it happens first, or it just occurred to them something that they thought the other person was thinking or meaning by what they said, and interpreted that in a way to where they were offended by it. Say, I'm not sure what you meant by that. And that gives the person a chance to rethink what they said and try to say it in a way that's not as offensive to the other person. Is when you say you're sorry. That takes courage. To somebody that you offended. Now you can, if you're not sorry, then saying you're sorry, it might help the other person to hear it, at least. And you can grow to, well, you can consider, I think we should all consider that we could have done something differently so that person didn't have such and such response over lake, whatever lake this is. It's on the way to, it's Tawakoni, I think. It's the East Tawakoni Lake. It's huge. It covers a big span of territory, miles. And so I guess I'm still live. I'm still how far away? 7.5 miles away. Come on. Why would we want to say to somebody else that they sound like a coward? What a crude thing to say to somebody. There's a time and a place for courage. Somebody can have so much courage that they're willing to do things that that's not good behavior. I can't hear you, go something. And so I think I did go through that one. I know I, got way off track from it in terms a bunch of times. I don't know, this may not be meaningful for anybody, but I suggest listening to the tape to get, and like I said, Doug didn't spend much time on that one subject of raising one's perspective and asking the next level for service, know how to help us with whatever service we can be to the next level. And then when we have challenges, oh shoot. Why are they gonna stop like here? In two places for two intersections that were 65, which that was just now. I mean, where you can see a long ways away whether somebody's coming or not. And yet they put a blinking red light there. Oh well. So, guess I'm done with the. I don't know if there's anything else to start talking about now when I'm so close to home. So good night, folks. Well, I'll look at that a little bit more. Yes, Actor Michael Merchant. I see you there. I'm doing okay. Kathy and I are, we're still working together. On projects and struggling, of course. I mean, I don't mean to say struggle. I mean, trying to pay our bills. All's good. Okay. Seven minutes. Let me see if I can see if anybody else. Somebody got beat up by a bunch of kids for Christmas? Wow, sorry that happened to you. Are you recovered from it? Jeez. That sounds terrible. $30? Oh, Brian, okay. You got me. No, I mean, they had some American, it was, well, it still is the remnant of the new Jerusalem. The new promised land, the new location where Jesus and his Father came back to. He wants to. I'm going to be a little bit. Well, I have a lot of evidence of it. My book is filled with it. But so the United States and described what happened. You said, the kingdom of God shall be given to a nation that you know not of. Now that nation word in the Greek relates to people. Given to a people that at the time they didn't know about. And that would have been probably the Native American. Because they were only discovered to be there, in the 1600s or so. So that's one thing. I got to turn in 0.7 miles. And he said he would come with a comet, right? Like a bright light in the heavens, going that we would be able to see it traveling from east to west. He was talking to us from east to west, because people knew what east to west was. That's the way the sun rises. So that's along the ecliptic. They call it the ecliptic plane. And look how they just came again along the ecliptic plane. Atlas comet, or whatever you want to call it. That was the Hale-Bopp, visible by the eye. Bright lights. No turning them off. Well, folks, I guess I can talk, prophecy all night, and Jesus' words about his teachings, and how many hundreds of, maybe even thousands of, those a deer there, ways Tienda demonstrate being the same souls that were the two witnesses, and also the woman and the man in Revelation 12. And Doe being the one sitting on with the position of what was described as the white horse in Revelation 6, and how they were both the Revelation 14 song, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, with Ti being a higher octave than Do, being the older member, like it says in the book of John, where it says when Jesus was talking about returning, that he said we would return. I mean, that the Father also would be able to, he would be talking to the Father also, asking your questions directly of the Father, and that they would make their abode with you. And if you look up the word abode, it's the same word that was translated as mansions. His dwelling place. In my Father's house are many dwelling places, is what he was saying there. And mansions is also a good way of identifying that he was addressing it as a place to live, and a very big and beautiful place to live. So there's a bunch of those, and Tian-Do, were the primary first ones to describe the next level as physical. Many mansions. He was using a physical analogy to describe a physical object or multiple physical objects. And I think that's in John 23, well maybe 13, 23. I'm not sure, but if you look up the word abode, like a King James or any kind of version, and it takes you to that spot where we will make our abode with you. He uses the word our in there because it is meant to, there is a distinction between singular and plural in the Greek language. Even though a lot of times, the same word can be used for both. But he was talking about his Father as a different person. People had a hard time with that, because he said he's one with the Father. And that meant of one mind with the Father. I want to do what the Father. Spiritual context. So I've got to get that. I'm at the gate. It worked. I made the first right. So good night, folks.